I wanted to share a little story about one of the reasons I actually joined Philips recently from Qualcomm. I had a son 2 years ago who was born 4 months premature. And I spent 4 months of my life living in a NICU, which sucks, really sucks. I saw stuff I wish I never saw, both done to my son and done to babies that I wish I never saw. My head was spinning. I didn't know left from right during those 4 months. I saw more tests done, images taken, brain x-rays, lung x-rays, I don't know, words I can't even pronounce, and I thought I was kind of educated. I didn't understand what the hell the doctors were talking to me like 90% of the time. And it was insane. Honestly, it was insane. Like, if you ask me what happened during those 4 months, I have no clue. It was insane. And then one day, they released my son, and they tell me, well, here you go, take this boy home. He's ready. I was like, what? What am I supposed to do? He's like sick, and you guys have monitored his every breath, and I got to know how to read these monitors, which I never thought I would understand, and I know some medical lingo, which I couldn't pronounce like 4 months ago. What do you mean take him home? I don't know what to do. I don't have all these things at home. They're like, no, you're fine. Just take him home. You're going to be just fine. Just here's the bottles, and here's the measurements, and here's the equipment. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. I shouldn't take this kid home, but I had to take him home. So I took him home. And I pretty much downloaded, I mean, I come from mobile, so this probably makes sense, but I think I downloaded every single app on the face of this earth that has to do with child monitoring. Name it. Yep, I've used it. And I used all of them because I didn't know how to manage this, you know? So we used every single app there was. Tracking diapers, feeding, breast pumping, fat content in the food, where he slept, how he slept, which direction did he sleep, when did he eat, when did he not eat, why did he pee that day that much, why did he not pee that day that much. And once you get released from a NICU with a son who's 4 months premature and has all kinds of problems, you have to go to a lot of doctors, like more than twice a week. That's like at a minimum. But unbeknownst to me, all of the doctors that you go to once you leave the NICU, they don't talk to the NICU. The NICU is the NICU. Once you're released from the NICU, you're not in the NICU. So that was awesome. So now I had all these specialists that we would go see like multiple times a week who were asking us a million questions, and we had a million apps that we would pop up with all of our information on it, and we would try to show the doctor, well, look, no, I totally got this. Hold on just a second. I'm just going to pull this app up. Breastfeeding, got that, doctor. See, I got all your answers for you. Thought we would really impress the doctors. Doctors didn't know what the hell we were doing and why we were pulling up the apps. Doctors didn't even know how to download an app half the time that we talked to the doctors. Now, I'm not one who's known for her patience, generally speaking. So I got pretty pissed off at the medical system because I wasn't going to put up with this incompetence. But the bottom line is that when it comes to my son, they need to get their shit together, and they didn't have their shit together, and I had to figure out how to connect the dots between all the information that happened for 4 months in the NICU, all the information that me and my family were trying to track at home, and all the new information that they were starting to gather post NICU in the hospital, in the pediatrician's office. Meanwhile, my son wasn't eating, and no one could answer any of my questions, and no one was able to connect any of the dots, and that wasn't acceptable. That wasn't acceptable because we have all the technology, we have all the information, and no one was able to combine this information. No one was able to connect the dots. And we sat there trying to connect the dots for the doctor. I don't get paid as a doctor. Why am I connecting the dots for the doctor? And that's what we spent most of our first year doing, connecting dots for the doctors. And we had every single specialist in the San Diego area working on our case. Every single one. Stomach specialists and brain specialists, and neuro specialists and preemie specialists, and I don't know. I can't spell most of the people, that type of specialists we had. And they couldn't figure it out. So we were very, very frustrated. And long story short, I think the medical system has issues. So I realized it was kind of an analog to the world that I lived in before, which was in high tech. So at Qualcomm, I led a lot of the Internet of Things stuff, particularly around software. And one of the biggest problems that we were solving in the project that I led before I left, I'll join, was this concept of why is it that everything is getting connected, but nothing's talking to one another? And if you would have had these conversations with me 3 or 4 years ago when we would go talk at all the IoT conferences around the world, it was really funny because people would say to me, "Oh, Liat, no one's gonna want to talk to other companies because they're competitors. Sony's not gonna want to share with LG, is not gonna want to share with Samsung, is not gonna want to share with Panasonic. Come on. This is like how they differentiate. Why would they ever share their ecosystems?" And, well, I didn't believe any of them because I thought, look, there's only less than a handful of companies in the world that can live in their own silo and actually be successful not sharing data. Everyone else comes to the realization, and if they haven't come to the realization yet, they will come to the realization that in the consumer space, in the technology space, it doesn't matter what an amazing position you have. If you're number one in televisions, or you're number one in door locks, or you're number one in lighting, you're probably not also number one in refrigerators, or also number one in speakers, or also number one in garage door openers. And you have a choice. You can either be left behind to live in your little siloed ecosystem and only share data amongst yourself, or you can be part of an open ecosystem where you will actually be able to talk and share information and interact and react with other things, allowing your device to be smarter than it is if it just lives by itself. And guess what? 3 years later, that little thing that we started is now kind of the largest open source with all of the big consumer electronics, minus a couple of handful ones that actually can live by themselves, as part of it. So my lesson is that it happened in the technology space, what no one believed would happen. It needs to happen in the medical space, and it has not happened. But there is no difference. You know, there's a little bit more regulatory, and we need to stop thinking about these things as these split islands. What's cool about Philips is that they have a pretty broad portfolio that crosses the most highly regulated FDA-controlled devices all the way to like coffee makers and toothbrushes. We should be combining. There's so much context that you can get from all of these devices if they get connected and they actually share information. There's so much information these doctors can learn if they just would share data and not have everything in silos. So there's not a lot of limitations here. This is not like rocket science in terms of technology. We just need to make it happen, and we need to create economics that benefit people and motivate them to do the right thing. So it's pretty much why I joined Philips, and I'm really looking forward to try to make that happen, and interested to get as many other people who see some of these challenges motivated to try to make that happen too.